Hey guys, it's Peyton, and today I'm going to be talking about the 10 books that I read in March. They were kind of crazy. I did better than usual with my reading, and I'm pretty proud of myself, and not going to lie. I'm also filming on my vlog camera, so the audio is probably not as cute as usual because I'm a college student with a lot of things to do right now, and this is what I'm doing, okay? I don't feel like doing anything else, so here we go. But last month I read like 5 books, so the fact that I read actually 10.5 books, like, I wasn't expecting that. There was one I really freaking hated, but all the other books I pretty much really enjoyed, and there was a lot of bloody murder mystery thrillers going on. I've been really getting into those, so that's pretty much what I read this month, and they're crazy and chaotic and mysterious, and we're going to discuss them right now. So the first book that I read was The Ivies by Alexa Dunn. I think I gave this one a 4 to 5 stars. This one is an arc, so it's not out yet. I think it comes out in May, so definitely keep your eye out for this one. It was a really fun story. Alexa Dunn actually has a YouTube channel, and she talks about writing and just all these author freaking tips, and I really have enjoyed her channel for years, so I was super excited to get my hands on this. And this one is her first YA thriller. It's all about this boarding school with a mean girl group of girls that kind of reminded me of like Pretty Little Liars, and how there's just so much that they have done to people at their school, so they're kind of like the villains of their school. And our main character is a little bit of an outsider in her own friend group. Then one day, this friend group, one of the girls gets murdered, and it's very clear that someone in the school murdered her. So our main character is trying to figure out what the frick happened to this girl that she was friends with, but is starting to learn some pretty bad things about her and the friend group as well. So it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. There was nothing like that I really felt was wrong with it. I thought it was a fun ride, and I'm really excited to see what Alexa does in the future. The next book that I read was My Sister, the Serial Killer by Oyinkan Braithwaite. I might have mispronounced that, so I'm sorry. This one was, I believe, an adult book. It is set in Nigeria, and our main character has a sister who's a serial killer.
I don't think you would ever know that based off this title. Who would know that, you know?
So the main character, Korede, her sister keeps getting boyfriends and then murdering them. So she calls up her sister and is like,
hey, I accidentally murdered a guy again. He was my boyfriend. He attacked me. Can you come help me clean up this body?
Since it keeps happening and it's the same situation every time and it's the same weapon every time, Korede is starting to realize, oh, I think my sister might have a problem. She loves her sister, so she's not trying to like turn her in or anything, but this is where things get real. Korede has a guy at work that she has a crush on, and he starts dating her sister, which terrifies her because she's like, oh shit, she might kill him too, and she really cares about this guy. I gave it a 3 stars in the end because I just feel like it was too short. Like, I feel like there was a lot of potential and a lot of cool things going on, but honestly I wanted more. Like, I enjoyed what I got, but I wanted more detail on the sisters and what she's doing and this crazy thing that keeps happening to them. I just feel like there could have been even more, but I really flew through this. I read it in one day because it has such short chapters, and it was just a super breezy, fun read, even though such dark shit going on, but like I was so interested in the story. The next book that I read was When No One Is Watching by Alyssa Cole. I ended up giving this one a 3 stars as well, and that was mostly because the pacing just felt off for me. Like, it was just a really slow book. It's kind of unfortunate because, you know, this book, it has such important subject matter. It's about gentrification in a Black community, and if you don't know anything about that, it's pretty much when there's a Black community and it's fine, like, it has a tight-knit community, everybody's pretty much happy there, but then a bunch of white people come in, start freaking buying up these houses, renovating everything, and pretty much that just leads to rent rising and, you know, house payments rising, and then the people living there end up not being able to afford their own neighborhood anymore. So it's really annoying, and it's a real issue that happens unfortunately all the time. So it's a cool twist that this has such an important message, and it was a thriller, and I've obviously been really into thrillers lately, so I was really excited to read this one. I've heard a lot of good things, and I definitely liked the main character, Sydney. Like, she is a girl living in this neighborhood. She's trying to get it to stop, and she's creating a tour of her neighborhood and just trying to appreciate her neighborhood in general. She has a complicated relationship with her mom, who's been sick, and everybody's always asking her about her, and she just gets really uncomfortable. Then there's the new neighbor, Theo, this white dude. He is dating this really freaking annoying Karen. And oh gosh, so yeah. It's a good book to teach you a few things, but also give you a fun ride. Just a really dark and twisted ride though. Like, it's a thriller, so expect bad things, but it was enjoyable for what it was. I just thought like it took a long time to get into anything, any plot points or anything. It was just a lot of chapters droning on about those two characters' lives. I still think it's definitely worth the read. The next book I read was Pretty Girls by Karen Slaughter.
Holy shit is what I need to say about this book.
It is freaking one of the most terrifying books I've ever freaking read, especially because it's a real situation that happens all the time. Just like with this book, like, it's a real situation that freaking happens, and the scary things that happen in here are kind of realistic. They are realistic. When a book does that, when it gives you things that really could happen and then twists them even more, and then it just makes you feel so freaking scared. So this book is about two sisters that haven't seen each other in like 20 years or something. Their older sister, when they were younger, when they were teenagers, went missing. They never found her body or anything, and just for 20 years her family has been just torn apart over this. A lot of them don't speak to each other anymore. The dad is gone. The family has never recovered, basically. And how do you recover when you never even find out what happened to your sister? Like, obviously it would suck if your sister's dead or something, but like, wonder if she wasn't. Wonder if she's literally like kidnapped somewhere and like you could still save her. Like, they just don't have the closure that they need. What brings these two sisters together again after 20 years is another girl goes missing in a very similar way as their older sister. Oh, it also says it in the description, so it's not a spoiler, but Claire's husband, one of the women, he is murdered in front of her in the first few chapters. So she's dealing with her husband's murder, and she's also dealing with the recent kidnapping or missing girl, just like her sister, and things just keep getting revealed, and it gets darker and more twisted. And this is an adult novel, and I highly discourage you from reading this if you have any trigger warnings for like sexual assault or anything, rape, anything, abuse, just everything is in this book, and it is horrifying. And I don't even have triggers for that, but I was feeling like really upset and disgusted by the things happening in this book. But the messages and the two characters in this book are just so freaking like distinct and powerful, and they're two sisters, but they're like so different and like great in many different ways and have a lot of flaws. And I just really enjoy this book because holy shit, crazy shit was happening. The characters were really intriguing, and there's a powerful message also behind this book. And whoa, one of the best books I've read in a long time is all I'm going to say. So since I read that one, Pretty Girls, I was super happy and wanting to read another book by Karen Slaughter because that book was just a whirlwind. So then I read The Good Daughter by Karen Slaughter, and I gave this one a 4 to 5 stars. I definitely prefer Pretty Girls over that one, but this is another adult thriller. There is
more murder.
I've been into murder mysteries. It's dark and twisted, but I'm just so into it right now. Like, thrillers have taken over my life, and I'm just so excited about reading right now because of it. So this one is about two sisters again. Common freaking thing apparently with Karen Slaughter, and they haven't spoken a while either because they had a very traumatic event when they were children. Their mother was murdered in front of them horrifically, and then other things happened that night. I'm not really sure if it's in the description, so I'm not going to spoil you, but a lot of traumatic things happened to those two girls. Like, one of them was like 13, and like they were really young. This night has changed them forever, and just reading that at the beginning, the traumatic night, it's just jarring. Like, it's very disturbing. Once again, just like the other book, like, it's not something for everybody to read because it's just very descriptive and all of the horrific things, and it's just hard to swallow sometimes because it's just devastating to read about. Randomly, 28 years later, there is another traumatic public event in this town. One of our sisters, Charlie, she is a witness to this event, and the other sister is going to be a lawyer representing the supposed person who did this horrific crime, who's actually a teenage girl. So the teenage girl is the one that did this horrible freaking crime, and she's representing her. I also read an audiobook called All Your Twisted Secrets by Diana Urban and gave this a 2 stars. I just didn't like it. It is all about this thing where a bunch of teenagers are told to meet up in this area saying they won a scholarship or something like that. They all get in this building and like the doors close and there's a bomb in the room, and there's like a note or something that says one of you has to die or you all die. So the whole point is they have an hour to decide which one of them they're going to murder. They're just having to figure out, whoa, like which one of us needs to die, like who deserves to live more than the other people. It's definitely an intriguing concept. I was fascinated by this idea, but the execution
just ended up being some diarrhea to me. Like, it was poop.
There's a trope in here that happened that I'm realizing the more that I read these books that it's just not for me, and that's just a personal preference. So I think you could still give this book a try and maybe enjoy it. It's just something that I personally feel just doesn't match the rest of the book, and it just doesn't make sense to me. You know, it just didn't feel right, and I feel like this book was just going for some crazy twist more than the authenticity of the characters in the story. Like, it didn't make sense to me, and I personally didn't like it. But if you like it, I'm happy you like it, because it definitely was cool. Like, I thought this was a good idea, and it just didn't end up being what I wanted it to be.
Literally, my legs are falling asleep. Holy shit. So I need to sit differently, because I'm going to have my legs fall off because I can't feel them anymore.
So the next book that I read was Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. I read this during a 24-hour readathon. That video deserves more love, so if you want to really see a lot of thoughts on this book with no spoilers, definitely watch that video. But this one is about a freaking house.
That's spooky.
I would think it's spooky. Like, this book gives spooky vibes. It's like a horror thriller type book. It's all about this family of 3, some parents and a daughter. They lived in this Victorian style like mansion, and they lived there for like 20-ish days, and then in the middle of the night they had to leave and flee the house, and they never came back for any of their things or anything. And then the dad comes out with a memoir about how all these spooky ghost things happened to them, and how a bunch of ghosts were contacting their daughter, and like just all these terrible freaking things about this house. It has a very spooky premise, and I was so excited about it because it sounds like Haunting of Hill House. I really enjoyed that show, and this book definitely gives those vibes. So if you enjoyed that show, I definitely feel like this will most likely be for you. But we have snippets of the dad's book throughout this book, and we also have the main character, the daughter, her perspective in current day when she is going back into the house and renovating it, because her dad recently died and he gave her the house in his will. She starts to experience things her dad experienced in the memoir, and she's realizing maybe this house actually is haunted, because she never believed her dad. She has no memories of the house, and it is so fun. Read it in one day. It was crazy. The next book I read was Honey Girl by Morgan Rogers. I also read this for the 24-hour readathon. Read the whole thing in one day. Gave it a 4-star. I also forgot, I gave this a 4-star as well. So both of these were 4 stars. This one is a contemporary adult romance. I honestly feel like people that are used to like YA books would enjoy this book as well, because it's not like really explicit or anything. It's not really a romance, actually. Like, there's a romance featured in this book, but it's mostly a coming of age story about this girl. So our main character, Grace, just freaking got her PhD in astrology, or is it astronomy? I think it's astronomy. And that's a lot of schooling that you have to do to get a PhD, and now she can't find a job. And she's a black woman in society. We're really pointing out in this book how a lot of times black women have to work 10 times harder just to get to the same place as other people. So this book really tackles that idea and how stupid it freaking is and how things need to change, but it also really deals with her mental state and her relationship with her parents. It's just so beautifully done. Also, the romance in here was beautifully done. This had a cute idea where she has always followed the rules in life. She has this plan, this grand old plan for her life, but oh shit, she goes to Vegas celebrating her graduation, and then she gets married. She gets drunk, and then she marries a girl that she just met in Las Vegas. So that ends up being a chaotic freaking plot point, and it's a lot of fun, and I definitely recommend this book. It was really good. The next book that I read was The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. I do not know how to pronounce that, but I gave this a 3 out of 5 stars. People might try to kill me because this is like a really beloved book. It won like the Goodreads freaking awards last year or something, and I just thought it was okay. Once again, this had like a trope that I didn't really like, and I cannot tell you about it without spoiling the whole book. But the whole idea of this book was there's this girl that murdered her husband, and it's 7 years later. We have no idea why she freaking did it because she has been silent. She has not spoken a word since the moment she killed him, and she has been in a psychiatric facility ever since. Our main character, Theo, he is a therapist, and he really wants to be her therapist. He thinks he can help her. He feels some type of connection to her and just wants to see if he can make her speak. Like, he's just so curious about why she doesn't talk. We're just reading some of her journal entries before she murdered him, and then we're getting Theo's perspective as he's trying to give her therapy. It's an interesting idea, but it was just okay to me. I feel like it was really lacking on the character side. For real, like, I just didn't feel much for either of the characters, and they didn't really interest me that much. I listened to it on audio, and it took me a really slow time, and it's a really short book, so it's kind of weird. And the last book that I read in March was Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo, and I'm not gonna say much about this because I'm gonna have a whole reading vlog coming out that is a buddy read with my boyfriend. We did a whole spoiler freaking video. I highly doubt it's up yet, but I'm going to put the link in the description for whenever it comes out. Y'all probably know what this is about. It's a heist, 6 dangerous outcasts, 1 impossible heist. I think it's overrated. That's my personal opinion. This is my second time reading it, and I'm preparing for the Shadow and Bone show, but it's okay. I mean, I gave it a 4 stars, so I don't freaking hate this. I think there's good shit here. Like, I have a million tabs for some reason. With the extreme hype that this series gets, it's just, it doesn't live up to it, in my opinion, and it kind of really, really ruins it for me. I wish I had read this with no expectations, but there's just no way for me to do that, so it really sucks. So my camera just timed out. Like, that was so freaking disrespectful. My camera just, like, decided to stop filming. Like,
You can't do that to me. That's freaking disrespectful. That's freaking rude.
That's it though. I read half of another book, but you're just gonna have to wait for my April wrap up because I finished it in April. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Like it, comment down below. Have a good day. Please subscribe. Make sure to follow all my social medias, which are linked down below, and go click the bell button, which is right by the subscribe button, which you should already clicked. And goodbye.